It's two things I don't like. One, the overall quality, and two, Shannon's hair. Cousin, welcome to my channel. This is a segment I like to do called Netflix and Chill, in which I review any Netflix shows, documentaries, movies, TV shows, whatever. Today I will be discussing a movie you probably forgot about, A Fall from Grace, aka the laugh of the year. Why is it the laugh of the year, you say? I call it the laugh of the year because I feel like it's the laugh of the year. It's a bad, bad movie, and I normally like bad movies. In this video, I'll go through my first reactions of it. Then I'll talk about the characters. I'll talk about the themes I've noticed, the storyline, the narration, which was a lot of it, visuals, my score of how I felt about it, like my final benediction on the movie, and any questions I have. Some of my first reactions, I watched this movie like 5 times, and the first time I was like put off by a few things, and I thought it was important to just write down what I was thinking at the time. So here are a few of my first impressions on the movie. So Jordan, he's the police officer. My first reaction to him was the fact that he didn't look away once the lady jumped off the roof, which would have been a natural reaction in a movie, I think, to be like, oh man, like, look away. He didn't look away. So I'm like, something is off with this dude right here. Jasmine, she's his wife. She's a lawyer, public defender. They wanted so bad for us to believe that she was just busted and broke. But I'm like, her hair and her wardrobe would suggest that she could have had something more better as a card than what they provided her with in this story. Rory, I cannot pronounce Rory. There we go. Um, Tyler, in true Tyler Perry fashion, he has to be over present in his productions, and it's like, okay, we see you. So all of his acting was like eye roll to me. You have Tilsa and Donnie, and I said they were her hater ass lawyer co-workers. And you'll see that throughout the movie. Shannon, a broke artist, he was trying to portray the broke artist image, but he had hella connections, which confused me as to why that diner date took place the way it did. Like, you have connections, you're this critically acclaimed artist, yet you can't afford a decent date. And Grace Waters, the main character of this movie, was pretty much a zombie the whole time. I got zombie vibes from her, like when she was in the jail, and in the kill scene where she was like losing her mind or being driven crazy. Like, she just turned into a zombie. You could see her in like moving in the background behind him. She was just a zombie, and it was like, is this supposed to be like the insanity part? Because I'm not getting that. I'm just getting like bad acting. Grace had way more passion in her narration of the story than in her actual acting scenes. Like, the narration was supposedly what she was saying in the jail scene to Jasmine, but like when you cut back to the jail scenes, it was like, yeah, yeah. And then it would cut back to her storytelling, and it would be so animated. And I'm like, am I supposed to believe this is how she's talking to Jasmine in the jail? That it wasn't connected. Cicely Tyson, as Alice was great. Sarah Miller, who plays Grace's best friend, felt iffy with that performance because I felt like it was very obvious that something was going on. Like, this movie gave me very much Lifetime vibes, and it's like maybe the next time Tyler Perry tries to venture off into like a crime, a movie, or thriller, or whatever you want to call it. I call it a comedy. Just straight up. I call it a comedy, straight up. A rom-com. That's what I call it. Cause that's and nothing was thrilling about it, not even the musical underscore. Next time he tries to venture into this kind of genre, I feel like he should do a little better than what he did, especially with like the here's a hint, catch this hint, look at this hint. Your viewers are smart. You don't have to put your hints out there the way you did. Like, let us be very subtle with it, not overbearing with your hints. Let's get into the rest of the video. So the storyline I came away with is that you have this older black woman who meets this young artist, and he helps her life become less mundane romantically and financially, and then he later causes a lot of turmoil in her life, and there's this huge twist that her best friend is his mother that's been setting her up. That's basically like the storyline. The most prevalent theme in this movie is the unlovable black woman, and that's pretty much the theme in every Tyler Perry production. Like, he said like 5 times in the movie, oh, you're judging too much, you're too judgy, you're judgy. And at the moments he said it, that has nothing to do with her being judgy or judging. Like, that line didn't make sense in some of the places he said it, so it had me like, what? The low-hanging fruit speech he did at the end, that really turned off a lot of black women that were watching this movie, because it felt like it was coming from it felt too easy to say like that. Like, that's how Tyler Perry feels, because that's all he makes movies about, is the unlovable black woman, and how she won't find love within herself, and she won't find love from a man because she's this and she's that, and the whole movie is just picking her apart at why she isn't lovable or worthy of love, and I don't like that. She was the angry black woman when it came to her like discussing her ex. She didn't really get too many scenes with her and her son interacting. I forgot she had a son until it was time for her to be in court, or it was her in the jail scenes. I forgot she had a son because you never saw him and her interacting, not even in her flashbacks. It was just a big movie about how she's unlovable and how she's gullible and unworthy to be loved, and that's why the men that come in her life come and go, or if they do come in her life, it's not because she's a woman worthy of love, it's because she has something he wants. I don't like this type of movie, and he needs to find a new subject. As far as visuals go, Tyler Perry made sure you saw that set he done built in Atlanta. He made sure you saw his little town. He definitely showcased it. There was a lot of what is it called? CGI? Is that what it's called? Where they add the after effects in. Like, it was a lot of that, which didn't make sense. The kill scene reminded me of a Hitchcock movie, like in the shower or something. Like, her hands, like when she had the bat, it wasn't even making contact with him the right way. That didn't look right. The blood didn't look right on his face. Like, he looked like no bat would do that much damage, especially the kind of bat she had. Like, it wasn't even like a heavy metal bat. Like, that shit was That bat was like a wooden bat. It didn't look that heavy, looked kind of flimsy. So it didn't look right. It didn't look right. They could have left that part out because it was a little too grotesque. They could have left that out altogether. Wigs were horrible. Horrible. The wigs were so horrible that Shannon's hair was too consistent. This was supposed to be taking place over a certain amount of time, but yet his hair never changed. You know, men, they get, you know, fades, they get waves, they do different things with their hair as it grows. They cut it short, but his hair always stayed the same. Everybody else's hair changed but his, and I'm like, why? It looks terrible. It looks so tacky. Like, just spend the money to make your actors look good in the films. Yeah, it was just horrible visually. I don't know if that was done on purpose or because they had a dollar budget for the movie, but it was horrible. Other storylines that weren't the main ones consisted of like this incapable couple. They both were incompetent in their jobs. I don't know how they make a living. I don't know how they're able to survive because both of them, they do their jobs very poorly. You have this incompetent policeman and this incompetent lawyer, and they're both together. She's asking him to look up people illegally. He was arresting people and then leaving them in handcuffs and driving away. Like, what? She waited till the day of the closing arguments to try to call a witness to the stand. It was horrible. And she also ended up being thrown in jail. A mess. Like, this couple was just horrible. A lot of things would have been solved earlier in the movie had these two people, the lawyer and the policeman, put their heads together and actually did their job correctly. This movie would have been way shorter. You have the hater ass lawyer, co-workers, and Rory. They're like the bad guys in the movie because they were fighting against Jasmine, and her husband's name was Jordan Bryant, as in Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. Put those names together. That's what I got. I don't know if you got it, but that's what I got from it. To me, they were seen as the bad guys in the movie, especially when it got to that argument scene between Donnie and Jasmine inside her home and they got kicked out. And the whole time, Rory was lurking in the background as she was doing her job, like, yeah, when you fail at this, you're gonna get fired. I can't wait to fire you. You wait till you lose this case. You're gonna be fired. You're not gonna have a life. And then in the end, when she got her victory, he was like in the background standing at the door. He nodded at her or gave her a thumbs up and then walked out the court. It was like he was always looming. As soon as she got in the office, he was, Jasmine. Like, how did he know she was walking in? I don't know. Sarah and Shannon had a bigger storyline where they were taking advantage of these middle-aged women. A lot of them in the basement were old. And I saw one that looked like she was in her 20s. Anyway, they were taking advantage of these older women, using them for their money, and then like putting them in this boarding house and locking them in the basement, abusing them, not taking care of them, and collecting their social security checks. That was the bigger storyline that Grace was supposed to be a part of, but it didn't happen to her. It was funny in a bad way. Like, I'm laughing at you funny. So the question I have is, why? Like, why did you do this movie like this? Like, you could have did so much better. You wanted to hurry up and finish and get it done in like before a week was over, and it was horrible. It was horrible. You could have spent more time on it, and you could have did a better job. So some inconsistencies I've noticed. The first thing that got on my nerve when I was watching this movie, just like the first time around I was watching it, was every time Jasmine got in her car, she was listening to the radio and they were calling in to discuss the case. And it seemed like the people calling into the radio cared too much about this case. They said that the population was less than 100,000 people and that this had never happened before. And I find that hard to believe that nobody ever killed anybody in this town. I remember writing down, like, what is the big deal? Like, this lady killed her husband. Who cares, you know? Like, they made it seem like he was this great artist when he did the gallery scene or whatever, and everybody knew who he was and loved his work. But when it came to like talking about him as a person, nobody knew him. He had no notoriety. Nobody said, oh, Grace Waters killed this critically acclaimed artist. She killed this well-loved artist, this talented artist. Nobody seemed to know that he was an artist by the time the court case came into play. So that was weird. Like, that was an inconsistency. It was just like artist, and then that like storyline dropped. He, like, as old as that lady was, and as long as I'm sure they had her, he could have been pretending to use her work for a long amount of time, for years, getting his name out there, using her work. So I'm pretty sure he would have been more known for that. Another thing that bothered me to the core when I was watching this movie was her main defense was, oh, she's this Christian woman, she sings in the choir, bakes cookies for kids, she's a great grandmother, she's a Sunday school teacher, she would never kill somebody. And it was like, we never got to see her singing in the choir. In the church scene, she was in the bleachers, she was in the benches. We never saw her teaching Sunday school. And also, why would a Sunday school teacher settle for a man who didn't really believe in God? Like, settle for a man who wasn't devoted to the church or had any interest in that. Why would a Sunday school teacher settle for that? So that was another thing that let me know that this movie was not realistic. Barely had any chemistry, and she was older supposedly, so why was she letting him run game on her as if she never heard it before, as if she never knew or seen somebody run that kind of game? It was like she made mention on the first date, like, yeah, why are you only talking about how much money I have or how much my husband had? And she should have like stuck to that like somebody smart that would have stuck with them, like, okay, this dude only talking about my money, I don't want to see him anymore. But she was so lost and so impressed and so taken aback by this young guy. And that goes back to the unlovable black woman. Like, you have to settle. You have to be flattered by any man that walks into your life, and I don't agree with that at all. And that was a big part of Grace's character. And I'm like, I don't believe this. She wasn't sassy at all. Like, black women are sassy, especially older black women. I just didn't believe this character they put together for her. She was too gullible. She didn't know game. She didn't know nothing. And I'm like, that's not real. Yeah, we never get to see her baking cookies. We never get to see her singing in the choir. We never get to see her teaching Sunday school. We never get to see her feed the homeless. Like, and they mentioned this 3 to 4 times, like, for her defense, when coming up with her defense. And I'm just thinking, like, what? But we never got to see that in the movie, which was like, we as the audience don't know those things about her. We only know because they tell us, and that's it. I don't even see her interact with her son. I didn't even know she had a grandchild because you never see her family. Even before she met him, you didn't see her family. You didn't see anybody. So, like, you would have thought she didn't have anybody based on the movie, because she was never seen with her family. Keeping along with that, it didn't make sense to me when she requested to be closer to her son, being that we never saw her with her son in the movie. And also, when he went up to the lawyer's office, the public defender's office, he said, my mom won't see me, she won't speak to me. So why is she requesting to be moved closer to him to be able to see him and speak to him if she won't even talk to him now or see him or take his calls or anything? So that was weird. Also, something else that was weird about the son is, why did he randomly show up at her house right after she killed this guy? He had never showed up at her house when she was dating this guy, and out of nowhere he just decides, let me go see my mom. Hey, that didn't make sense at all. He threw him in there to bring up that doubt, reasonable doubt, but that didn't make sense to me. That didn't make sense to me. And finally, they kept referring to Shannon as very young. oh, he's so young, he's so tender, I'm so old. Why is this young man looking at old me? Da 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 da. Later on, the news people were like, oh, he and his mom have been doing this for like 25 years. And I'm like, 25 years? How old is this dude? If he's so young, like, how old is he? I wasn't understanding that at all. Like, how old is he? If he's been doing this for 25 years and he's so much younger than this older woman, how old is he? Nobody ever said his age. But they talked about her age quite a bit. And it doesn't seem like once you do the math that he would be that much younger than her for him to be emphasizing how young he was. So and he would have had to start at a very young age conning these older women, like 15, 16. But even then, like, how would he have been able to do it that young? So I don't know. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this movie a 2. Simply because it made me laugh at it. Not with it, but at it. And everything else, the storyline didn't make sense. The storyline was recycled Tyler Perry material. It wasn't anything new or creative or original about it. So I would give this a 2. If you've made it thus far in the video, thank you so much. Let me know by leaving a popcorn emoji in the comments. You can also leave requests for future videos you want me to do and review. Follow me on all my wholesome social media. You will see it in the icon in this corner. You have all my social media. You have me in the comments. I will pin a comment to this video. If you're interested in where I got this pajama set, I will leave that in my description box. Check out the description box and everything in it. I'm also on TikTok. I'm new on there. I don't really know what the hell I'm doing, but you can follow me just in case I figure it out. Your fave cousin, YOFAVE cousin. See you next time, and bring a snack.
I'm not perfect person. I'm all human. Sometimes happy, sometimes nervous.